recognize Josh. Are you going to introduce our speaker?
Hey everybody, how are you? Jason E. Mumpower was elected Tennessee's 35th Comptroller of the Treasury on January 13, 2021. He is responsible for leading the Office of the Comptroller of the Treasury, which comprises of 13 divisions and more than 600 employees, and ensuring the office fulfills its mission to make government work better. He is currently serving his third term. Prior to his service with the Comptroller's Office, Comptroller Mumpower served in Tennessee's General Assembly as the state representative for Johnson and Sullivan counties. He was first elected to office at age 23, and during his 14-year tenure, he held the positions of House Minority Leader and House Majority Leader. He joined the Comptroller's Office in December of 2010, serving as former Comptroller Justin P. Wilson's Deputy Comptroller and Chief of Staff. Comptroller Mumpower has received numerous awards and recognitions during his career. In 2025, he was awarded USA Today's Top Workplaces Leadership Award, recognizing him as the nation's top leader for similarly sized organizations. And in 2023 and 2025, he was named the top leader among large Middle Tennessee businesses as part of the Tennesseans Top Workplaces competition. He has also been named Legislator of the Year on multiple occasions by several organizations. Additionally, he has received the National Federation of Independent Businesses Guardian of Small Business Award and the Future Farmers of America Lifetime Alumni Award. Comptroller Mumpower is a graduate of King University with a BA in Economics and a minor in Political Science. Notably, in June of 2013, he graduated from Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government with Senior Executives in State and Local Government Program. Comptroller Mumpower is an Eagle Scout and active in many community organizations and projects, including the Rotary Club of Bristol and the Chambers of Commerce in Kingsport, Bristol, and Johnson County, Tennessee. He currently serves as a member of King University's Board of Trustees. He resides in Bristol, Tennessee with his wife Alicia and son Max, and also he just celebrated his 52nd birthday on Monday. So please give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me try to leave that there. Thank you all. Thank you all very, very much. It is. Thank you very much. It is a delight to be back here again. I don't know what year in a row this is that I have been able to be back here or been invited here. I appreciate Dawn reaching out to me and inviting me this year. As I say, it's always a privilege to be invited somewhere one time, but certainly an honor to be invited back, in this case again and again. Always honor about the week of my birthday. This week was my birthday. I was in Orlando, Florida, actually, on Monday at a work conference, and so glad to be here with you today. Always appreciate it. 22 days ago, I was in, let's see if it's going to work for me. There we go. 22 days ago, I was in Park City, Utah, at a conference, and this conference was for public pension fund trustees. 200 public pension fund trustees in the room. So I can see that you understand just what an exciting throwdown that was. So I spent a couple days out there on continuing education. I'm, of course, a trustee of the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, if any of you are retirees on that program. But I was out in Park City, Utah, 200 public pension fund trustees in a room, and we had 2.5 days of conference, and they decided that for this group of public pension fund trustees, our closing speaker should be who? Rob Gronkowski, if you don't know who that is. Former tight end for the New England Patriots when Tom Brady was quarterback, and then also played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Tom Brady made his year-long comeback. Now, If you don't know anything about Rob Gronkowski, what I urge you to do when you leave here is Google Gronkowski post-game parties. And that will give you a flavor of this fella, who you now see on TV commercials. A big old guy. You see my head only comes up to about his shoulder there. He gave a very interesting speech to these, again, group of 200 public pension fund trustees. You know, about 37 seconds into his speech, he used the F word for the first time. And he went on to use the F word a total of 8 times in his 45-minute remarks. And I thought, I kind of saw this group of public pension fund trustees come to life. You know, after these days, they started to laugh and loosen up a little bit. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start using the F word in my speech and get people livened up. So today I'm going to use words like fiscal and finance and finding and fiduciary and framework. And maybe by the time we're done, you all be loosened up too. It is good to be able to be here. It is good, again, to be back. Many of you, I know, have been in the room before when I have made a presentation to this club. So for those of you who were here before, thank you. We're going to recover some ground. But for those of you who are here for the first time, it's always important to me to help you have an understanding of the basis I'm coming from. One of the most common things that people ask me as Comptroller, I mean, when I was, state representative, or member of the House of Representatives representing some of you here in Sullivan County, people kind of clearly understood what I did. In the time I've been in the Comptroller's office, which is 15 years now, 10 as Deputy Comptroller, 5 as Comptroller, what exactly I do or my office does. To sum it up real quick, if people ask me what I do and I want to sum it up quickly, I refer to myself as the state's money cop. If there is a dollar in Tennessee, regardless of whether it's a local government dollar, a state government dollar, or a federal government dollar, my staff and I are looking out for it. I have 625 staff people, 8 offices in the state of Tennessee, Greenville, 2 in Knoxville, Cookeville, Murfreesboro, Nashville, Jackson, and Memphis. I have 625 staff spread out across the state. So we're looking out for your money. Now, we do that in a variety of ways. We take those 625 people, we have them divided up into 13 different divisions. One of the things we're most commonly known for, our main responsibility is auditing every city, every county, every utility every year. We audit every state agency on a rotating basis. The thing that comes after our audit function is definitely what our most demanded service is. If there is money out there, there is somebody looking how to steal it. And we have a team of 36 investigators working across the state every day to root that out. Not every day, but certainly every week, we release some type of investigative report in cooperation with the relevant district attorney. And unfortunately, no matter how much fraud and stealing we find, there's always more to be found. And that continues to be our most demanded service. In addition to those functions, we have oversight and assistance responsibilities for every property assessor in the state. The Tennessee Constitution requires property be assessed fairly and equitably, and we work with every assessor. We also oversee the budget of every city, county, and utility in Tennessee. After your city council or county commission pass a budget, that budget has to be sent to my office for review and approval before it can be in force. We manage the state's debt, and I'm just kind of scratching the surface. We administer the state's tax relief program. We work with open records and open meetings. We work with small business people to help cut through regulation. We do a wide variety of things, all centered around one mission. And the mission statement of our office is to make government work better. For regardless of what you're looking for as a citizen, we are looking to make government work better at every level. We're working to try to, regardless of what the question is, get to yes for the people of Tennessee. The answer can't always be yes, but we work to try to get there if we can. So with that little picture of what my office does, let me talk about some things that I think are relevant and important to you as Tennesseans. And do we have anybody here that's not a Tennessean? One, life is cheaper here, so you're always welcome to come over. But so for those of you who arrived as Tennesseans, I hope you're proud to be a Tennessean. I hope I tell you something today that might make you leave a little prouder, because we have a lot of good things going on in Tennessee. This year, our state's budget, and one thing that I do and my office does, is work a lot with the governor and the legislature in regard to the state's budget. This year in Tennessee, it takes about $59.8 billion to run the state. All things told, $59.8 billion. Now, some of you, I can see it in your face. You were here last year and you said, Jason, that number last year was almost $10 billion higher than it is this year. And that's true. Our state's budget is actually almost $10 billion less today than it was this time last year. That is because of a reduction in federal funds that are out there. After the pandemic, the federal government spent a number of years pumping a lot of federal money into state and local governments across the nation. And, some 5 years after the pandemic, that finally phased out. And so our budget is indeed almost $10 billion smaller than it was last year. It takes $59.8 billion to run the state of Tennessee this year. And you say $59.8 billion is a lot of money. Where does that money come from? You can see right up here, logically, that state-generated revenue, $29.7 billion, is the biggest portion of the money that it takes to run the state. Secondly, money coming from the federal government. We still have lots of money coming into Tennessee from the federal government that goes into things like TennCare, which is our Medicaid program. It goes into the human services and social services, things like that. Transportation, still a lot of federal money coming in. Current service money, tuition, student fees, and a little bit of debt, bonds, just about $1 billion. That's where the money comes from to run the state. Well, that's where the money comes from. Where does the money go? And this is always very interesting to me. And as I've shared it before, I know that it's interesting to some of you. You can see where the money goes. Again, remember, I'm not going to back my slide up, but I'll hold it up here. $59.8 billion. Where does our money go? Well, number one, you can see the top expense in Tennessee this year's TennCare, the state's Medicaid program. Just coming in below that, education. That's K through 12 and higher education. Then we have social service programs, transportation, and corrections. Those programs, those 5 programs by themselves use more than 80% of the state's budget. Those 5 categories right there use 48.3 out of 59.8. So those 5 categories take up most of the money that is coming into Tennessee. So what's left runs everything else. You think about what the state does, what's left runs everything else. Now, we're fortunate to be very well represented here in Upper East Tennessee. We have a great legislative delegation. They worked with the legislature overall to pass a budget that meets the needs of the people, I think. Some highlights that I want to point out to you about the budget this year. The legislature took an extra $1 billion to address our state's transportation infrastructure needs. Tennessee has seen a lot of growth in the past few years, and our transportation infrastructure has been under stress. It's still been very strong, still been rated the number 1 or 2 interstate network in the nation by the National Truckers Association. But we have a lot of places in Tennessee where we need transportation infrastructure upgrades. That included hundreds of millions of dollars returned to each each county road department to help with roads at the local government level. We'll talk more about this in a minute, but here we are, just almost a year exactly, right? We're 1 day short of a year of when Hurricane Helene devastated our upper East Tennessee area. We're very blessed here in Sullivan County that we were carved out the way we were from that damage, those 9 counties around us that were severely damaged. We'll talk more about that in just a minute, but the legislature had at least, really more than this, but at least $46 million direct dollars for Hurricane Helene, $78 million for rural hospital support, which stands out a lot coming here to Upper East Tennessee. We continued to build our rainy day fund, $2.19 billion. That sounds like a lot of money to me and you. It's not enough to run the state for 2 months if we have a true disaster. And $42.5 million to enhance emergency and community services. The legislature continued its investment in education with $62.7 million for K through 12 infrastructure and facilities, which is where we see a lot of the need, especially in our rural communities. $244 million to strengthen education through TISA. TISA is the education funding formula, including pay raises for teachers by 2026, which is coming up here in just a few months. Tennessee teachers, when they start, will be among the top 10 paid teachers in the nation, with even the first day teacher making a minimum of $50,000 each. We had $198 million for teacher bonuses and $145.9 million for the Education Freedom Scholarships, which help Tennessee students as they pursue a higher education. And I'm going to move fast because I know we have a limited amount of time, and then try to leave some time for questions that you can come back and ask about. One thing I mentioned was the money that was set aside for the Hurricane Helene disaster relief. And I remember where I was a year ago today as that hurricane was roaring through down south. And I remember where I was, a year ago tomorrow. I had then a 12-year-old son who's 13 now. He was called out of school that day because of the potential impact of the storm. I was at home in Bristol. It was so windy and we were seeing such rain and things like that. A strange day. Quite literally, the day after the hurricane roared through and we had the severe impacts, particularly in surrounding counties, I started my day on the phone with county mayors and other local government officials, with legislators, beginning to immediately assess what we could do for those that were directly impacted by the storm. And certainly, one of the first orders of business for the General Assembly when it returned for session in January was to address this situation. Now, one thing you all may or may not know, and I talked about how my office is involved with property assessors and property assessments. One thing you all may or may not know is that your property tax bills, by law, must be mailed to you no later than the first Monday of October. So the hurricane came through on September 27th last year on, I think, a Friday, right? Well, what was the next Monday? The deadline for mailing you your property tax bill. So we literally had thousands of property owners who just a few days before, in some cases, who had had their home ripped off its foundation, but maybe their mailbox was still standing down there at the end of the driveway so they could receive their property tax bill 4 days later. You see what I'm saying? Isn't that an uncanny coincidence? And so the legislature immediately knew that they wanted to help property owners who had been damaged and affected by the hurricane. I can tell you that starting the day after the hurricane, I had my property assessment staff on the ground in Upper East Tennessee counties helping assessors assess the damage. They worked starting the day after the hurricane until the end of the year when the legislature went back, making sure that everybody that had experienced damage at their home had been properly assessed for that. What the legislature did was provide a grant program where, well, let me say, the other thing is, our cities and our counties are funded by property tax revenue. So if you just said to these thousands of property owners, well, you all are off the hook for your property tax this year, you were damaged, well, then that revenue would be lost to our cities and counties, which were already struggling. So what we had to do was figure out a way where we could provide damaged property owners who had been damaged some relief, while also making sure the cities and counties were held whole because they were suffering too. And so what the legislature did was use state funds to create a program where people could receive a grant equal to their property tax bill for the year plus 30%. And we worked with the assessors and folks who were damaged, the Comptroller's office. We processed a payment to those property owners who had damaged property so that they could still pay their property tax, and these local communities could be held whole for that year. And a very successful program, millions of dollars appropriated by the state to directly help property owners who were affected by the hurricane. And the Comptroller's office, we were proud to be able to administrate that in our office. Here we are a year later. We've come a long way. We have a long way to go, especially as you get into places like Unicoi County, Cox County, some areas of Washington County. I just saw on the news this week where we still have at least one person in Washington County who was swept away that has yet to be found, although that still goes on. I have had to work with the governor's office and other Tennessee officials this year. When to work in the law, it takes up to 7 years for a person that just goes missing to be declared dead for reasons of probate. We've had to work with, in this emergency situation where people went missing as a result of the hurricane, and people wanted to begin to probate their estate, and kind of work with matters like that. Sometimes a person disappears and it's because they want to be gone and they don't want to be found. And so that's the reason for the 7-year period. But in this case, we've had to kind of expedite that for some people when they're gone missing surrounding a particular event. So still a long way to go in Hurricane Helene relief. I know we're all watching these storms that are developing in the Atlantic right now. I've been talking with the director of the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency. There's potential for heavy rain in the same areas that were affected last year. Let's all keep that in our prayers, and I hope that doesn't happen again. Hopefully we're more prepared for it if it does. So turning away from the hurricane, let me talk about, again, some good stuff we have going on in Tennessee. As of today in Tennessee, our unemployment rate's 3.6%, which you can see is 0.7% better than the national unemployment rate. The unemployment rate, of course, measures people who are actively working or actively seeking work. And what this basically means is if you want a job in Tennessee, you have a job. We are at an economic condition called full employment when you're running about a 3.6% rate. Interestingly, some of us look around and still wondering, where's all the people we need working? I can tell you in Nashville, there's still quite a bit of opportunity, particularly in the service sector. We need people at work. Our labor force participation rate is still lower than what it should be. During the pandemic, a number of people dropped out of the labor force. A good number of them have come back, but we still need people to fill jobs, at least in Tennessee, even though we're running such a low unemployment rate. In the past year, since I have been here, Tennessee employers have added 34,400 jobs, with the big driver, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, in the leisure and hospitality industry. That's a big growth sector in Tennessee. Tennessee continues to be a good state in which to do business. We have a very welcoming environment, thanks to our low tax environment, to our kind of lack of red tape, to our responsible fiscal management. You can see they're number 3 best state for business according to Chief Executive Magazine, number 4 best business climate among an economic development survey, number 10 for best states to start a business by Yahoo. Interestingly, and this is kind of mind-bending to me sometimes when I look at these stats, in 2024, more than 73,000 new entities established businesses in Tennessee. When you have a business in Tennessee, you do have to register with the Secretary of State's office. That's how we're able to track that. More than 73,000 entities applied and received a business license in Tennessee in 2024 alone. Most of them, of course, small business, which continues to be a backbone of our state's economy. I will say that in addition to our business growth, the economic health of our rural areas in Tennessee is improving. In 2019, there were 15 distressed counties. That number is now down to 11. You can see in our Upper East area of the state, Cocke and Hancock continue to be on that distressed county list. I can tell you that's a priority for Governor Lee. That's a place that he is working, and we're all working to see our rural communities move on up. In the Comptroller's office, we are the repository for census data. When the United States Census Bureau collects data, it sends it in Tennessee to the Comptroller's office, and we process it. This is an interesting map. I thought you would be interested with this kind of fresh numbers. Our population today looks about like 7,227,000 people. We've had a lot of growth. The counties in the red or pink up here on the map are where the population has grown in the last year. The blue is where population has been lost in the last year. You see right up here in Upper East, we have seen just a small population loss in Unicoi County, wholly attributable to Hurricane Helene. Hundreds of homes destroyed in Unicoi County. And when you have that's a low population county to begin with. And so when you have any level of loss, you're going to see a population loss. Right over here, you see most of the population loss in Tennessee has been in West Tennessee. As a matter of fact, Shelby County, where Memphis is, has had one of the most stark population losses of any county in the nation. And no doubt you have seen on the news, about the federal action that's taking place in Shelby County, and you can have whatever feeling about that you want, but what I can tell you is the biggest driver to the population loss in Shelby County is centered around crime. And so in order to reverse that trend, we have to reverse that crime trend that exists. Memphis is not just a great Tennessee city. Memphis is a great American city, and we need Memphis returned to its previous status in order for all of us to benefit. I promise you, way up here in Upper East Tennessee, we benefit from what happens way down here in Shelby County and these West Tennessee counties. We always want to do, we all share in the tax burden as Tennesseans, and so we want everybody to be strong. So we have a big focus on making sure that we have some correction out there in West Tennessee. Here's kind of the population stats about our fastest growing communities in Tennessee. I'm showing them to you two different ways. The way that the federal government measures fastest growing is on a percentage basis. But if you have a smaller number as your base, it doesn't take as much impact to create a percentage, right? So I'm giving it to you two ways, by percentage and by number. Wilson County, the fastest growing county in the state by percent. Wilson County is just east of Davidson County and Nashville. Correspondingly, Lebanon is the fastest growing city in the state. Lebanon is the county seat of Wilson County on a percentage basis. Interestingly, you see Loudoun County, which is just kind of west of Knox County. If you've driven through Knoxville lately, you know this is true. It's like, where are all the cars coming from? Loudoun County is the second fastest growing county in Tennessee, followed by Murray, where Columbia is, Montgomery, and Sequatchie. By number of actual people coming in, Rutherford County, where Murfreesboro is, has actually brought in the most number of bodies and continue, but it started with a bigger base. Rutherford County has been the 25th fastest growing county in the nation for the past couple of years. Right there you see Knox County, Montgomery County, where Fort Campbell is, Wilson County, and Williamson County. Correspondingly, here's where we've lost population. Lake County, which is up in the northwest. All these primarily rural West Tennessee counties, except for Shelby. Shelby, which is where Memphis is, lost over 19,000 people in the past year. Again, we're all seeking a way to turn that around, in Memphis. So that's where we are. I don't have numbers for 2025 yet, but I do think this is interesting. U-Haul, the truck rental company for people who are moving, every year they rank where their one-way truck rentals are. Somebody that rents a truck, drives it one way to where they're moving and unloads it and turns it back in. You can see right there on the U-Haul survey, Tennessee is number 5 in the nation. And interestingly, the Nashville area is number 6 in the nation for destinations for one-way truck rental. Knoxville, Johnson City, and Cookeville, Tennessee were among the top 15 cities in the nation for where U-Haul one-way truck rentals went to last year. I talked to you, and I don't have a slide for this. In 2022, Tennessee was the 7th fastest growing state in the nation. In 2023, Tennessee was the 6th fastest growing state in the nation. In 2024, Tennessee was back to the 7th fastest growing state in the nation. People want to be in Tennessee. Business wants to be in Tennessee. And I know that you have all, no matter where we live in Tennessee, seen the effect that it's had on property values, seen the effect that it's had, on school systems, things like that. People want to live in Tennessee. People don't only want to live in Tennessee, people want to visit Tennessee. Many of you may have seen in the news just last week, the Governor's Conference on Tourism was held over at the Meadowview, the largest Governor's Conference on Tourism we've ever experienced. More than 600 tourism leaders from around the state came and had an event here. Tennessee tourism broke another record in 2024. That was the 4th consecutive year that we had seen growth in tourism in Tennessee. In 2024, visitors to our state generated $31.7 billion in direct spending, which is an increase of at least 3% over 2023. We know that at least 147 million people visited Tennessee in 2024, spending more than $87 million a day across the state. Again, visitors generated $3.3 billion in state and local tax revenue in 2024. And every one of us, every one of you that's a Tennessean, if it weren't for the visitors coming in the states, we would all owe an extra $1,170 in tax a year in order to maintain the budget we have. Thankfully, those people coming in from out of state are spending their money, and we benefit from that tourism spending. 93 out of 95 counties had an increase in tourism spending in the counties every year. Lake County was one that didn't, as well as down where Bonnaroo is. Bonnaroo had to be canceled, and it's had a lot of bumps in the road, so to speak, and so they didn't have an increase because they lost that festival. But tourism is very important in Tennessee. 1 out of every 24 jobs in this state is a tourism job. And they need more people in the tourism sector doing these jobs in Tennessee. That's where we need more people in the workforce. Summing it up real quick, let me tell you that on Monday, actually on Sunday of this, a couple days from now, on Sunday, I am flying to New York City, where I'll spend a few days with Governor Lee and members of the state's funding board presenting to the bond rating agencies. Tennessee is one of only 13 states that has a AAA credit rating. We're going to make our presentation. I expect we will continue to be a AAA rated state after our meetings this coming week. Tennessee ranked very high in the nation for long-term fiscal stability. We have the lowest debt burden per capita in the United States, about $214 per person right now in terms of a debt burden. Depending on who's doing the ranking, we either have the lowest or next to lowest tax burden in the nation when you average state and local taxes. We have strong reserves and a strong pension program. I've already illustrated one of the best states in the nation for business. Right up here, no matter how you measure it, Tennessee's on top, from the business climate to economic development to travel and tourism to financial stability. Many of you may not know, and people are surprised sometimes when I point out, the most visited national park in the United States is the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. You know, I ask that question, people say Yellowstone or somewhere like that. I'm like, no, it's right down there at the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. No better place to get an airbrush t-shirt. It's 12:55, which only leaves me to say that I appreciate you having me here.